This presentation is on the technical steps in performing the color separations for your final project using Illustrator. I used to use Photoshop for this step, but in its most recent version the results are less than desirable. I can show you examples of why this is later. So here's my example of a travel poster that I'm going to put into Illustrator, separate into 16 colors, and then place each onto a separate layer complete with a color description. Upon clicking the image and opening it in Illustrator, the image is too large for the artboard, and I will have to adjust it with the Artboard Adjustment tool. That's located here. I want to make sure that I eliminate everything except the image itself. Now that it is adjusted, I'm ready to begin. I don't want to have to separate any more colors than is already on the artwork, so I'll need to get rid of any instance of white in the background. Once I've selected the artwork by clicking on it with my selection tool so that you have a visible bounding box around the image, you will need to go to Window, Image Trace. Once the Image Trace dialog box opens, you will want to change the top window from default to 16 colors. Just use the pull-down menu. You will now see Illustrator going through the task of separating the artwork into 16 individual colors. Once the dialog box disappears, your artwork will look like this. It may not appear appreciably different depending on how detailed your original artwork was, but you should now begin to see individual bands of color where there were gradients before. Now if you go to the next window down inside the Image Trace dialog box, you will want to pull down and select Tracing Results with Outline. This will cause your image to look like this. Now Illustrator is showing you all of the individual outlines of each of the colors that compose your artwork. In fact, what Illustrator has done is to separate each of the colors as an object, and in Illustrator, objects can be isolated and placed onto layers individually. But some of our colors are repeated many times and spread over multiple objects inside the image. How are you supposed to find them all? Well, next if you go to Object, Image, Trace, Expand, your artwork will now appear like this. Note that your artwork now composed of objects, but they are all on one layer. We'll need to separate each instance of a color and place it onto a layer of its own. Now you're going to need to go to Direct Selection Tool, second icon from the top, the hollow arrow. Now create a new layer and name it Color 1, followed by a dash. We're going to put some more information into this layer description, and we'll get to that here in a moment. Your layers area should now look like this. Make sure that you have the Direct Selection Tool selected and click on what would be your first color. In this case, I'm choosing the border around the artwork. Now go to Select, Same, Stroke, and Fill. What this will do is to locate every instance in your artwork of the color that you just selected with your Direct Selection Tool and isolate it from all of them. This way, we'll be sure to find all of the other objects in the artwork that have this same color. Now go to Cut. All of that particular color should now disappear from the original layer. In this first case, that happens to be just the border and nothing else. Now, with the Color 1 layer selected, go to Edit, Paste, in Place. Be sure to use the Paste in Place as you want the color layer to go back exactly onto this new layer where it came from in the original. And the color will reappear. It may look like nothing ever happened, but if you look closely, you will see a new bounding box and outline around the color. In this case, it's red, which if you look at Color 1 layer, there's a red indicator just to the right of the image box. It is exactly the same outline color indicated in the layer palette. This way you know that it's on the color layer of its own. Now if you use your eyedropper tool and click into the middle of the border layer, you will load that fill color box at the bottom of the tool palette. with the color information from your color. As a matter of fact, since you just created this object layer, it probably already has that fill color. This is just a safeguard to make sure that you have the color in the fill area. Now if you click in the center of fill color in the tool palette, the color editor dialog will open. When this opens, you should probably see that the hexadecimal code for this color is already highlighted. You will need to right-click on this 6-digit code and copy it. If you double-click on the Color 1 layer, you will open the box for further information. Keep the Color 1 portion of the information, but after the dash, add the hexadecimal code. If you have not opened your layer as an independent window in the middle of the screen, simply use Command-V and add the 6-digit number after Color 1 information. It pastes it. The hexadecimal code will now become shorthand for locating the RGB information later when we go to change these colors in our future versions. Now I'm going to locate my second color, so I will again select my Direct Selection tool. Beginning at the top, I will place my Direct Selection tool in the middle of one of the letters that compose the title Prague. I will see a bounding box appear just around that color. Now I need to locate all other instances of this color in the composition. So I again use the Select, Same Fill, and Stroke from the Task menu at the top, which now isolates not only all of the letters from the word Prague, but all of the colors in the street lamps in the image below. Now go to Edit, Cut. I will now create a new layer in the Layers palette and name it Color 2, followed by a dash. The colors appear to disappear, and with the Color 2 layer selected, I will do another Edit, Paste in Place, and return the colors to the composition, but now on a layer of their own. Notice that the color information is already in the fill box. Repeat and capture the hexadecimal code information and paste it to the Color 2 layer box. Now we'll jump way ahead. Here I am about halfway done at color number 8. Notice that if you shut off each layer of color that you're creating, it makes the task of what to choose next that much easier. It's kind of like taking a puzzle apart. And here I am at the end with all the layers isolated and all of them on layers of their own along with the hexadecimal information. Now I will quickly go through the layers, turning them back on one at a time to show you how it gets put back together like a puzzle. Starting with these darkest colors, then color 14, color 13, color 12, color 11, color 10, color 9, color 8, color 7, color 6, color 5, color 4, color 3, color 2, and color 1, rebuilding the image back to its original form. Now if I duplicate this file 6 times, one each for each of the pieces that you need for the final, it should make the task of creating each of the individual pieces very easy. Name each one for the individual portions of the final. 1. Original. 2. Color reversal. 3. Expansion. 4. Contraction. 5. Color shift. 6. Hue collapse. And you should be ready to go.